This speech contains hard topics such as suicide, sexual assault, and rape. Hi, my name is Dawn. I was sexually assaulted and raped as a child by a 15-year-old family member, and I brought the bowl. Hi, I'm Julie. When I was 13, I dated this guy who's 24, and when we got caught together, he killed himself on my birthday. And I brought gummy clusters. Hi, I'm Abby, and when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to have friends over because I couldn't explain the multiple holes in the wall from my parents fighting. And I brought Skittles. Yikes, right? When I go on TikTok, I'm not looking to be emotionally ambushed. I'm trying to escape my own problems, not force-fed someone else's with a side of candy. But if you were online at all during the end of 2024, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The trauma candy salad trend was everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Even YouTube Shorts couldn't escape it. It was like trauma became the new aesthetic. This trend where people share their deepest, darkest experiences in casual, sugar-coated videos is more than just uncomfortable. It's harmful. It's part of the growing culture of trauma dumping and oversharing that infects younger generations and is doing real damage. So, let's start our own candy bowl, but this time with intention. First, we'll grab the supplies needed to understand how dumping all of this trauma can lead to feelings of low self-esteem and inadequacy. Then, we'll go around sharing how people's current coping mechanisms like dark humor and suicide jokes actually make their problems worse. And then finally, we'll post the video, but not for likes. We'll post it to spread a message on how to remove yourselves from toxic cycles and build real sustainable ways to cope with trauma. Because healing isn't a trend, it's a choice, and it starts with us. Let's start by unpacking the first ingredient in our candy bowl of chaos, trauma dumping. Now, trauma dumping isn't just venting with an extra flair. It's more like emotional projectile vomiting. Venting is healthy. It's when you share your feelings with someone who's ready to listen in the right time and place. Trauma dumping is the exact opposite. It's unloading raw, unfiltered pain onto unsuspecting people, often in public spaces without consent, care, or context. It's telling someone about your abusive childhood while they're trying to finish the math worksheet. It's dropping suicide stories in the middle of a makeup tutorial. It's turning trauma into content, turned it into clickbait. And that's not okay. Trauma dumping turns serious, painful experiences into shock value entertainment. And that's not just awkward, it's damaging. As the Cleveland Clinic puts it, trauma dumping can feel like a one-sided conversation that leaves the listener feeling emotionally drained or even traumatized themselves. It's emotional whiplash disguised as vulnerability. So while sharing is important, dumping trauma hurts more than helps. It can leave listeners feeling helpless, overwhelmed, and even guilty for not knowing how to respond. Worse, it can make people question their own experiences. Wait, my childhood wasn't that bad, or my experience is valid. This comparison game chips away at self-esteem and creates a toxic culture where trauma becomes currency. A good word to describe this feeling that comes after unhealthy comparison is inadequacy. Feeling inadequate refers to the sense of not being good enough, competent, or worthy. This enables low self-esteem, negative perception about ourselves, and makes it seem like everything you do is bad or not good enough. When everyone's trying to out-trauma each other, empathy gets lost. Our self-image is destroyed, and instead of healing, we're left with a distorted sense of worth. One that's measured by how much we suffered and not how much we've grown. Now that we've scooped out the trauma, let's go around sharing unhealthy coping mechanisms. Dark humor, suicide jokes, self-harm, trauma memes. These are tools many young people use to survive, but they're double-edged swords. They might feel empowered in the moment, but they often mask deeper wounds and normalize suffering. According to the Council of Relationships, suicide jokes can minimize the seriousness of suicidal ideation and mental health struggles, making it harder for people to recognize when they or someone else actually needs help. But I mean, we've all said it once or twice, like seeing a cute couple online and responding with, "The highway looks comfy tonight." Or a math test went bad, and your first response is, "The gun is to my head." It's all fun and games until it becomes real. Till there's some people who use these types of jokes as a last resort to find help. But it all gets pushed off as jokes now. It's all just a joke until you lose your best friend to suicide. Till your mom is crying on the phone because her uncle hung himself. Until you're starting to feel like you can't reach out to any of your friends because they all think that suicide is a joke. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 727,000 people die by suicide each year, and 1.5 million attempt. That's someone you know, a friend, family, classmate. Suicide isn't a joke. So using it as a coping mechanism and a humor isn't a good thing. But it's not only the only unhealthy coping mechanism. Positive psychology highlights several unhealthy coping mechanisms: denial, avoidance, substance abuse, and even emotional suppression. These strategies might feel like quick fixes, but they often deepen the problem. Instead of processing pain, people bury it under sarcasm and TikTok trends. The result? A generation that's fluent in irony, but struggles with vulnerability. When coping becomes performative, healing gets postponed. When pain becomes punchline, healing becomes harder. And when everyone's laughing through the pain, it becomes harder to tell who's actually okay and who's silently drowning. So, we'll post the video, but this time, it's a message of hope. It's a message that says you're allowed to hurt, you're allowed to heal, but you're not obligated to bleed in public for likes. Healing isn't about hiding behind jokes or trauma trends. It's about building real sustainable ways to cope. That starts with recognizing what's toxic and learning how to step away from it. If your social media feed feels like a never-ending therapy session with no therapist in sight, it's time to log off. These boundaries aren't just for relationships, but they're important for your mental health too. According to the Washington University's HR department, developing healthy coping skills starts with self-awareness and intentional action. They emphasize strategies like practicing gratitude, engaging in physical activity, and seeking social connection as ways to build resilience and emotional strength. Now, these aren't just feel-good buzzwords. They're proven tools to help you process emotions instead of performing them. Healing doesn't have to be loud, public, and aesthetic. It can be quiet, messy, and private. What matters is that it's yours. So, whether it's therapy, talking to a trusted friend, or just taking a walk without doom scrolling, choose coping strategies that nourish you, not numb you. So, throughout this speech, we've unpacked the dangers of trauma dumping, exposed the harms behind unhealthy coping mechanisms like suicide jokes and dark humor, and explored healthier ways to process pain and build resilience. So, stop treating pain like a performance and start treating healing like a priority. Recognize that trauma dumping and avoidance aren't badges of honor. They're warning signs. Let's stop filming our breakdowns and start building each other up. Let's create a culture where vulnerability is respected, not exploited. Because healing isn't a trend, it's a choice, and it starts with us. So, grab your bowl, grab your candy, but this time, let's fill it with compassion, not chaos.